It's a tragic story
to a story.
Our top story this evening.
Ever feel like your story has already been told? Like every entrepreneur, every creator has already said the thing that you want to say.
Do you struggle with storytelling?
To tell insanely good stories.
Create a story and a script that actually makes people feel something.
Good news, you're not out of stories. And today, I'm going to show you how to take any story, even one that feels completely overused, and make it sound unmistakably yours. Your storytelling fingerprint is not about which story you should tell, it's about how you tell it. And 3 layers shape every story. Experience, the facts of what happened. Perception, the feelings you had in the moment. And perspective, the meaning you discovered after the fact. Once you learn how to add those layers, even the most cliche story becomes unforgettable. So first, pick any story. Don't overthink it. The more generic the story, the better this actually works. I'm going to use a real story from my own business, a deal I worked on for months that I thought was going to change my life and then fell apart at the very last moment. We start with experience, which again is just the facts. Who was there? What happened? Where were you? Then we're going to add some context. What was the environment like? Add some circumstances. What challenge were you facing? And finally, capture the choice you made in that moment. Keep this part objective. No emotions yet, just facts. We just want to set the stage of where we are and what we're doing. Now we add perception. How it felt as it actually happened to us. What did you tell yourself was happening right then? What emotions were you feeling? Fear, hope, frustration, excitement? This is where the story starts to breathe. I want you to let us into your head and let us feel what it is that you felt. Finally, we're going to layer in perspective, the meaning that you discovered later after gaining some distance from the actual experience. What did this story teach you? How did it change the way you think or act today? This is where the story delivers value, where it becomes something that others can carry with them and learn from on their own. So let's put this into practice, and here's that deal story. First, I'm going to just tell it kind of a quick and generic way. I spent 2 months working on a deal that would have changed my life, and at the last minute, the client decided to wait. It was disappointing, but it taught me patience. Now, here's that same story with my storytelling fingerprint layered in: experience, perception, and perspective. I spent 2 months working on a proposal that would literally change my life and my family's life. On Monday, August 25th, I sat with a client in his office for over 2 hours. Before he left for dinner, he told me he'd talk it over with his wife, who is also his business partner, and I'd have a definite answer that night. I didn't get a call until almost 24 hours later. When he did call, he told me that when he arrived at his office that morning, he had actually signed the paper copy he'd been reviewing. But then something came up in the business that day and he had to hit pause. He told me not only did he want to say yes, but that he needed to say yes and promised to call the next day with an update. I actually didn't hear from him again until that Friday, and it was just a text saying he'd call me with a plan over the weekend. Well, after that, a full week passed with absolute silence. And when he finally got back to me, it wasn't a phone call. It was just a text. Now isn't the right time. You may find the DocuSign in your inbox one day. In that moment, it felt like I just watched the future I'd been working toward vanish right in front of me. I can remember my face was hot, my chest was tight, and my stomach sank. And the loop in my head was, I did everything right. How did this still slip through my fingers? Now, looking back, that deal taught me the difference between hope and pipeline. It pushed me to start thinking about deals like flywheels instead of finish lines. Every proposal I send now has to create momentum for 3 more opportunities. I'm working on building a system that compounds instead of relying on one perfect yes. Same facts, completely different impact. The fingerprinted version makes you feel what I felt, and it shows you what I took away from it. And here's the best part. A story doesn't have to be long to be powerful. Or as my mentor at Think Media, Sean, who I used to work for, said, it doesn't have to be long to be lethal. You just heard the full version of that story, but let me show you what happens when I tell it in about 60 seconds using the exact same framework. I spent 2 months working on a proposal that would change my life, and the client said yes. Then the next morning, he ghosted me. A week later, I got a text that said, now isn't the right time. You may find the DocuSign in your inbox one day. It felt like the future I had been building just disappeared. My chest was tight, my face was hot, and I kept thinking, I did everything right. How did this still slip through my fingers? That moment pushed me to start thinking about deals like flywheels instead of finish lines, and to build a system that compounds instead of relying on one perfect yes. See what I mean? The framework makes a story connect whether it takes 2 minutes or just 60 seconds. Now it's your turn. Pick a story, run it through the 3 passes, and try your own 60-second retell. Post it in the comments. I'd love to see what you come up with. And in the video that you're seeing on the screen right now, we're going to break down how Simon Squibb uses other people's stories while still leaving his fingerprint on them. And remember, there's a great big beautiful tomorrow.